Let's take a journey back in time to the year 1818 in the state of Maryland. This is where a baby named Frederick Douglass was born. He was born into slavery, which meant he was treated like property instead of a person. Frederick was not allowed to know who his father was, and he was separated from his mother when he was very young. He saw her only a few times before she died. Frederick's early life was very hard. He had to work on plantations and was often cold and hungry. He wore clothing made from rough sacks and did not sleep in a bed. Life as a slave meant he could be beaten and punished just for trying to learn or speak up. But even as a child, Frederick had a dream. He believed that everyone should be free. One of the most powerful things Frederick Douglass ever did was learn how to read and write. At that time, enslaved people were not allowed to go to school. When he lived with a new family in Baltimore, the wife of the man who owned him began to teach him the alphabet. But when her husband told her to stop, Frederick kept learning in secret. He gave children in the neighborhood bread in exchange for reading lessons. He read newspapers and books and taught himself as much as he could. Reading opened his eyes to a bigger world and gave him the tools to fight for freedom. When Frederick was around 20 years old, he escaped from slavery. It was very dangerous, and if he had been caught, he would have been returned or worse. But he took the risk. He dressed as a sailor and used borrowed papers to ride a train up north. At last, he made it to freedom in the state of New York. There he changed his name to Frederick Douglass to hide from slave catchers. Once he was free, Frederick Douglass began to speak out against slavery. He gave speeches and told people what it was really like to be enslaved. Many people could not believe that a former slave could speak so well. But he amazed audiences with his deep voice and powerful words. He spoke with passion and courage and made people think about justice and freedom. Frederick wrote an autobiography, which is a book about his own life. His book was called Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. It became very popular and helped people understand the truth about slavery. He wrote several other books too. His words traveled far and wide. He was invited to speak in places like England and Ireland, where he shared his story and raised support to end slavery in America. But Frederick Douglass did not stop there. He started his own newspaper called the North Star. In it, he wrote about the fight for freedom and the need for equal rights for all people. The name of the paper came from the star that helped guide escaping slaves to the North. He believed in using words as a weapon against hate. During the Civil War, Frederick Douglass met with President Abraham Lincoln. He pushed for African American men to be allowed to join the Union Army and fight for their freedom. Thanks to his efforts, many African Americans served bravely in the war. Frederick also helped recruit soldiers and visited the White House several times to speak on behalf of his people. After the war ended and slavery was abolished, Frederick Douglass continued to fight for equal rights. He spoke out for women's rights and wanted women to be able to vote. He believed all people should be treated with fairness and dignity, no matter their skin color or gender. Frederick Douglass worked as a statesman, which means he served in government roles. He was appointed to several important jobs, including U.S. Marshal for the District of Columbia and U.S. Minister to Haiti. He was the first African American to hold these high offices. He never gave up on the dream of justice and equality. Frederick Douglass passed away in 1895, but his legacy lives on. He showed the world that even someone born in chains could rise up and make a powerful difference. He used his voice, his pen, and his courage to change history. Today, school streets and parks are named after him. Statues stand in his honor. His writings are still read by students all over the world. He remains a symbol of strength, hope, and the power of never giving up. So the next time you speak out for what is right or read a book to learn something new, remember Frederick Douglass. One brave man can change the world. If you like this video and would like to see more content like this, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment, share with others, and subscribe to our channel.